Welcome to the Art Lady's Home. Today I am going to show you how to make this amazing calzone. And it is bursting with all kinds of herbs and spices and loaded with my favorite, garlic. So if you like flavorful foods and flavorful calzones, you're going to love this recipe. For this restaurant style calzone, I have some of the ingredients out here that I'm going to be using. And it looks like a lot of ingredients, but it's really not. The secret to having a really great calzone is you want a lot of flavors in it. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut up the garlic real fine, dice it up, and the green onions, and then I'm going to saute this all together in a saute pan here in olive oil. Right now I'm cooking the garlic, and this is almost the entire bulb of garlic with the exception of 3 cloves. I'm cooking it in about 1.5 tablespoons of olive oil. Now I'm going to scoop out about 1 tablespoon of this with some of the olive oil because I want some of this for the topping after the calzone's almost completely done. So now I'm going to add the mushrooms. And if you have fresh mushrooms, that's great. I just had this on hand. And this is just 1 small can of them. It's 4 ounces. And I'm going to turn the heat down a little bit and cook that until these are nice and tender. Now I'm going to go ahead and add the green onion. And all of this is going to get flavored together, which is going to be amazing. It's going to make that filling taste absolutely delicious. It really helps flavor those canned mushrooms. I just put in 1/2 teaspoon of basil and 1/2 teaspoon of oregano. Add salt to taste and about 1/8 teaspoon of pepper. The spinach saute probably 30 seconds. And then I'm going to now put in my meat. And this is just to heat up the meat. It just aids in the cooking of the calzone. I don't want it to be some cold pieces here. And then I'm just going to stir this all together. I like my calzones, when you bite into them, to have a little bit of everything. Sometimes at the restaurants, your spinach is only at one end. You can't find it. The vegetables seem to be not mixed well. So I like mixing everything really well first and then putting it inside, so that each bite has a little bit of everything. So I'm just going to warm that meat up, and that's amazing right now. Wow. Now I'm going to roll out the dough. I am not a pizza maker expert, so I don't know how to flip it and pull it and all that. So I find it's just easier to roll it out. So I'm going to just put some flour on here on the rolling pin, and I'm just going to roll it. I want it to be probably about 1/4 inch thick. Now meanwhile, I had prepared my baking pan. What I'm going to bake it on, I just did a aluminum foil baking pan with some spray olive oil. So I have a kind of an ovally circular shape, which is fine because we're going to flip it over and make it into the calzone anyways. So I have my pan all ready. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my ricotta cheese to the pan. This has been cooling, and I'm going to add about 1/2 cup. So there's 1/4 cup there, and another 1/4 cup. I like I mentioned before, I like to have my ricotta mixed in with this so that I don't just have one huge bite of ricotta and none of the other stuffing, the filling. So I like it evenly distributed throughout. So if you want to just layer this after, you can. I just like mixing it beforehand. I do, however, layer my cheese because I like that big gooey string coming up with the bite. I'm going to go ahead and lay it down, and I'm going to have this on half, and I want to keep it about, I'm just going to scoop it in the center for now. I want to keep it about 1 inch away from the edges. So I'm going to go ahead, lay it all out to the end. And you can see this is going to make a pretty hearty calzone here. And that was 2 pieces of chicken breast. It wasn't a full, huge chicken breast. It was 2 small pieces. But it did make quite a bit. So you can see how I'm arranging it so that it's about an inch away from the edges. I'm just going to pull that down. And it's halfway. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to drizzle it with the cheese. And I'm just using shredded mozzarella. Of course, use any mozzarella you have. And this is extra fine. And you know, those are pretty good handfuls. Because in the restaurants, they're not skimpy on that cheese. And so that's what's going to make it. And this is an 8-ounce package, and I'm probably using half of it. 4 to 6 ounces probably. Right here. There. Now I'm going to just flip this over. And I'm going to bring up the bottom. Bringing it over. I got a little piece there. I want to keep it away from my edges. I'm just going to bring up the bottom like so. And I'm going to blend that in. And just blend it in here. So I'm drizzling some olive oil on the top. Like so. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and bake it now. I had the oven set on 400 and it was preheating. And now I'm going to go ahead and put it in and set it for 15 minutes. I'm going to check it about 12 to 13 to see how it's doing. Now while that's cooking, I'm going to chop up the last 3 pieces of cloves of garlic, and I'm going to saute it right in the same pan. I'm not even going to wash it. Now I'm going to go ahead and make the sauce. I started simmering the garlic with the tomatoes, little cut up tomatoes, just because I like chunks in my sauce. And now I'm adding the paste. And I only used a half a can. I don't need a lot of paste at all. What I do is if I don't need the rest, I put it in a plastic bag in the freezer. Because most recipes call for about a half a can anyways. Here's the can of water. I'm going to stir it around just to get the leftovers off everything. I'm using one of those mini spatulas. And I'm going to put in small amounts at a time until this is a nice consistency. And the garlic is really going to flavor this sauce. Just a little bit more. I almost used the whole can. I'll put a little bit more in. Now I'm going to add my seasonings. Use thyme, and I'm only using 1/8 of a teaspoon of this ground thyme because mine's ground and it's stronger. If you have fresh, then use a little bit more. Now I'm using a half a teaspoon of basil, a heaping half, and same thing with oregano. Right there. And then I'm going to do some ground pepper. Oh, that's not enough. And then you want to taste it as you go along. I'm going to turn my heat down. I have and I'm going to just put some salt, and I always do it in my hand first, lightly, and then I'm just sprinkling it across the top very lightly, just enough to season that area. Now I'm going to sprinkle in some onion powder, just a little bit across the top, and some garlic powder. I'm going to add the rest of that, and I may need a little bit more of that water. It's thickening up nice. So I've got a little bit more water here in the can, and I'm pouring about 1/4 of a can more in. Just Just giving it a little stir. Start thickening up nice. Add a little bit more. I don't want it to be too runny. But I want this to simmer while the calzone's cooking. And so it's going to simmer off some of that water. Now, of course, if you have your own favorite sauce, just use your favorite sauce. Now, for the buttery garlic topping, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a few, it's probably a tablespoon of butter right here. And I'm just going to chop it up. And this is in a dish that I can use for in the oven. And then I'm going to put the garlic that I cooked. I had it in reserve. So I'm just going to take it out of the olive oil because I want it in a buttery sauce. And this is going to be kind of like the garlic knots. That it's going to taste like those delicious garlic knots. And this is going to go on top of the calzone. So I'm going to melt this in the oven now, right next to the calzones. It's been cooking for 12 minutes and it looks amazing. I'm getting that sound that it's done. It's just starting to brown. And so now I'm going to drizzle on the melted butter with the garlic right here. For the last 3 minutes or so until this browns up nice. And I'm going to do a sprinkle of Parmesan cheese and some parsley. Wow, that looks delicious. And back in for 3 minutes. And here it is. It just came out of the oven the last 3 minutes. I want to just show you what it looks like here when I cut into it. And I'm going to plate it up and put some sauce on it. And then I have some of that sauce we can drizzle on the top. And then I always like to serve a little bit of it here on the side of my plate for dipping as well. And there we have it. Let me cut into it this way so you can see. And then you have that beautiful mozzarella cheese. And there you have it. This amazing, packed with flavor calzone. Let me know in the comments how you like it. And bon appetit!